Let us know where you are from. Tell us hello or greetings. I see you all in the chat, and I'm just so thrilled to see everybody today. We have an amazing show. I'm just waiting for some other people to come into the room. Enter the room, family, with joy and thanksgiving in your heart. So happy 17. 1 plus 7 is 8. 8 is the number of abundance and infinity. So welcome to an abundant and infinite day full of prosperity. 17 is actually also the letter of Q. So we are grateful that you all joined us on the 17th day. Keep letting us know where you're hailing from, family. Somebody said, Brother Eric said, I'm from parts unknown. I see San Jose in the room. I see South Africa here. Grand Rising to you too as well. Victoria, California. Sister Cheryl, peace, love, and light to you. Lovely day, family. Greetings. Grand Rising. I see Brother Larry Bolton, a wonderful, great friend of ours, and Chief Max, the chief of the Soul Tribe. Welcome, Soul Tribe. We see 80 people checking in the chat room. I am so grateful to see you. Just come on, we need just a few more people, family. Cleveland, Ohio is in the house. Maryland is in the house. I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. So we have a special guest today, family. I'm just waiting till we get to 100. Florida, Sister Theola is here. And as you all know, I'm in Northern Florida, so it's always good to see our Florida family. Jacksonville, Sister Ramona Duval is in the house. Texas is in the house as well. Who else? Toledo, Ohio. You have a gentleman there named Dr. Tyrone Bledsoe from Toledo, Ohio, who created something called SAB, the Student African American Brotherhood Initiative, or SAB, where he has taught other college administrators how to mentor men of color. You started off as Black men and all men of color in order to help retain and graduate them from college. So if you live in Toledo and you like to meet a wonderful gentleman who has a doctorate in education or something like that, his name is Dr. Tyrone Bledsoe. He has made an impact in the area of retention and graduation of Black males. Please try to hear him speak if you're in that area of Cleveland, Toledo, Ohio. He has implemented programs, mentorship programs, in many, many colleges across the nation, private institutions, public institutions, predominantly white institutions, PWIs, and HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, and where he's mentored administrators and teachers and professors and counselors and help them to instruct and help, encourage, and inspire, mentor, and to teach and show the way for men of color. Again, it's the Student for African American Brotherhood. It's called the SAB Initiative. Many people have written on the initiative that he's done, his mentoring programs, and they work. They work so well that men of all nationalities and ethnicities have joined SAB. So kudos to Toledo, Ohio, and Dr. Tyrone Bledsoe, a phenomenal college affairs administrator and college professor. Look him up, and if you get a chance, please hear him speak. I see Virginia in the house. Florida is in the house. Hello, greetings. Chicago in the house. So what's in the news, family? What's in the news? I mean, we can't even escape it, right? It's mostly about the Epstein files. Who is Epstein? He is a financier. This gentleman is a real estate mogul, financier, an economist, so to speak, but he's well known for doing things that are not so kosher. What it looks like is, with the dumping of the Epstein files, is that people from all over the world, some reports say over 100 countries have been impacted. So prelates in 100 or more countries have stepped down. They have been forced to resign, or they've taken early retirement, or they just walked out because their names are implicated in the Epstein files. Not only that, but here in America, in the Department of Justice, we've had 70% of the justices to step down and walk out last year. But this year, we heard reports of over 8,000 attorneys, judges, and employees walking out of the Department of Justice. So once the files were released, the Epstein files were released, thousands, almost 10,000, 800 and some thousand have stepped down from the Department of Justice. And this made mainstream media go crazy if you can find the reports, right? But when you fact check it, they will say, oh, it wasn't 8,000, it was only 5,500 or 6,000. And still a lot of people saying that's a lot. But as we dug deeper, we saw that last year, 70% of the Department of Justice walked out. Attorneys, judges, court workers. Why? Because the whole so-called Justice Department has been shaken up by President Donald Trump and Pam Bondi, his Attorney General. Now, there are rumors that Attorney General Pam Bondi made a statement that if we prosecuted every single person who was involved in the Epstein abuse cases of children, the whole system will collapse. Some of us say, well, crash it and burn it down. Because when it comes to the safety and well-being of our children, we will do whatever it takes. And if they don't make sure something happens to bring our children home safely and protect our children, then many of us will take to the streets. Family, it's not just Epstein, it's not just Hollywood, but this has reached every segment of our society. As a matter of fact, we've been living in an upside down, perverted world. From history to politics, the education, entertainment, government, media, all of it has been infiltrated with wickedness and perversion. Today, I'm going to bring on a historian and economist to talk to us about how perverted and upside down our reality has been. It's like everything we've experienced in this Truman Show is told and directed from the perspective of evil beings that colonize the whole planet. What can we do? How can we shift from perversion and upside down to right side up and morality? Well, I'm glad you asked. On today, we're bringing Dex Lattimore, economist, world historian, international traveler, a gentleman that specialized in international business. He studied Pan-African studies and world global history and economics. This is a gentleman who has been on our show to talk about geopolitics, economics, and history. But today, he's going to answer our questions on how we can shift this reality of perversion into a reality that is more conducive to our health and well-being. Family, without any further ado, please help me welcome our special guest today, Dex Lattimore, historian and economist. Welcome, Dex. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you, Dr. Pruitt?
Great. I'm great.
Great.
Well, that was an introduction that I've been waiting to give because this world is truly wicked, Dex. And as a historian, I'm sure you've seen this in your studies before, or maybe you haven't. But tell us what's going on in the world and how can we shift things? But first, what is going on?
Absolutely. So we want to start with the good versus the evil, right?
Okay.
Or God versus devil, right? We look at the etymology of these words that we use to understand what's going on. Also, I'm going to use a lot of go into the Bible, the biblical perspective to understand. I look at the Bible not necessarily as a religious text, but as a historical text,
Okay.
right? Because a lot of the things when you talk about the Epstein files, they actually go further into the spiritual realm, right? A lot of the things, a lot of the practices that were being done and that have been done, not just by Epstein, but by the people in power at large, they have been doing a lot of demonic rituals, right? And it goes back all the way into the biblical times where you can look at, for example, the stories of Baal and Molech, right? These are ancient demons that have been implicated in the Epstein files. But it's really been going on again for millennia. It's been going on for thousands of years.
Yes.
So
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
about spiritual wickedness, I recall there is a scripture that says we fight against spiritual wickedness.
Right, exactly, exactly. And so when you look, for example, when you start in Genesis, the beginning, you look
Yes.
at the story of Genesis chapter 6, and it talks about the sons of God laying with the daughters of man.
Mhm.
And that's when the time of the giants and the Nephilim were on the earth. And these things, uh, when you look at the book of Enoch further explains how these, what they call the watchers or these spiritual beings, their job was to watch over this planet.
Mm.
They, a group of them came together and formed a pact. And they said that they will come down to the earth to lay with the women and to defy what's going on here on the earth and to defy defy the people. And so from that we get a lot of the perversions that are going on today. You look at Hollywood. Hollywood, even the term Hollywood comes from the holly tree, which is where the witch's wand,
Yes.
that's where the witch's wand comes from, the holly tree.
Okay. Mm.
The word Los Angeles, right, is Spanish for the angels. But what angels are they referring to? Some would say that they're referring to the fallen angels.
I see.
And so then that's where a lot of wicked activities have been going on. And a lot of people have blindly accepted the things that are going on. The even the common people, right? The masses of people have accepted a lot of these things, some knowing and some unknowing. But when
Yes.
we look at the words of the songs of a lot of the artists, for example, right? You look at like Michael Jackson, the song Boogie. He has a line where he says something to the effect of "the devil's got into me," right?
Wow.
Blame it on the boogie, right?
Like a boogeyman.
Right, right,
What? Never thought
right.
of that.
Yeah. Um, uh, uh, what's his name? Kanye West has a song where he says, "I sold my soul to the devil. It was a crappy deal, but at least it came with some toys like a Happy Meal."
Mm.
Right. So people would hear these words and accept them and not understand that you're opening up your body, right? You're opening up your spirit to accept certain things,
I
right?
see.
We are vessels. And if you're not careful, you can allow for spirits to enter into you and be channeled, and then comes a lot of perversion, right? As spiritual beings, because we are spirit first, we have the choice. Everybody has a choice. The good and the evil is the duality of life.
I see. Mm.
So we have the choice to accept the good or the evil, but it's become very easy to accept evil and even to pervert it and to change it and call it good. So now we have accepted a lot of these things that they have been doing. Now today, Pandora's box has been opened by the Epstein files, and so
Mhm.
now people are actually able to question all of the things that have been going on. Right?
Mm.
Initially, a few years ago, it would be easy to just write everything off as conspiracy theory,
That's true.
right? If you didn't like it or didn't want to accept it, you just call a person a conspiracist, and just like that, they could be written off, right? But they say the easiest thing to do in order to dismiss a person is to call them crazy, right? So a lot of people have been called crazy or labeled crazy, and then we wrote off their stories. A lot of people in Hollywood have admitted a lot of the things that have been going on, and they will be blackballed, blacklisted, or whatever the case. And the media would say, well, they're just crazy. And just like that, the rest of the population would easily say, well, agreed, they're crazy, they're on drugs. And just like that, you can dismiss them. Now, today, because of the Epstein files, people are having to look back and reinvestigate all of the things that were called crazy, all of the things that were called conspiracy theories, and have to find what was true in all of these things.
Before you go on, can I ask you a question about having a choice? Because I hear a lot of people say that they don't really have a choice. They don't have a choice about what they eat. They don't have a choice about what they think. It's almost like people are walking on autopilot. Do you really believe we have a choice? In oh,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yes, everyone has a choice. It may be difficult to find the choices and to find the options. And in fact, they have made it very difficult, right? What they've done, for example, they've been doing things to calcify the pineal gland,
Hmm.
right? To blur the third eye, what they call, or the first eye, as I would call it, right? We have this first eye, which we use to see into the spiritual realm, right? So when you tap into the spiritual realm and you look and you research for things, you can find that there are options. But again, it may be difficult to find these options, but that doesn't mean that you should not look just because it's hard.
Right. Do you believe that this paradigm or this reality into which we're going now that the Epstein files has been dumped, is forcing people to look for alternative realities? I mean, look for something that's real, that's something that's benevolent or good.
Certainly, certainly.
Okay.
There has been like you said, a paradigm shift
Hmm.
where truth is being sought out. Before, people didn't care to find the truth. They blindly accepted whatever was told to them to be true.
Hmm.
When we look at the schools, for example, the schools are training grounds. They are not there to instruct us, to enlighten us, to bring information and knowledge. They're there to give us information that we must accept. And from there, then you can be told what to do.
Let's see. Hmm.
But now again, as you mentioned, people are challenging and have to challenge the information that we have been given, because we will find the more we search that there were a lot of lies that have been told to us.
It's like everything like has been upside down, inside out, just tipsy turvy, perverted. That's the only word I
Hmm.
can think of.
Yes,
Everything. Yes. Mhm.
absolutely. We even look at the language, all right? The language that we speak, the English language or the Roman languages, they took the Hebrew language, for example. The Hebrew language is written from right to left,
Hmm.
right? They perverted the languages. They turned the letters upside down and sideways and wrote it from left to right.
Hmm.
You look at the ancient Egyptians and a lot of the other peoples of the world, they were actually left-handed,
Hmm.
right? You in Egypt or Kemet, they say to put the left foot forward.
Yes.
When you look at the statues in Egypt, the left foot is forward. When you look at the European statues, the right foot is forward, right?
Hmm.
During slavery, they forced the people to become right-handed. I don't know if you remember when we were in Ghana, we went to the King's Palace, and there were a lot of there was a lot of history on the walls.
Yes.
One of the things that was written that I read about was that you had to greet the king with your left hand, because the left hand gives love versus the right hand is about war and anger.
Wow. So the left hand, which side is your heart?
on the left side.
So you shake the king with your left hand. You put your left foot forward. You lead with your heart. That's deep. Wow. Mm.
Yeah, but like you said, things have been perverted. The language, right? We use now a language of spells and curses.
Yes.
So when you look at the word spelling, right? We're casting spells
Mm.
a lot of times unknowingly. You look at the curse words that are used, they're very not just vulgar, but they're perverse, right?
Yes.
MF or FU or GD,
Mm.
SOB,
Mm.
right? What does that actually mean? Right? So we're casting spells, we're saying things without actually understanding the interpretation of what we're saying. And now we have to challenge a lot of things that we do and that we say and that we see and hear. Because again, they put it right in front of us to accept it.
Mm.
And we put the screen in front of us and we openly accept what's going on, right? You look at the term entertainment.
Okay.
Everybody wants to be entertained. People don't want to take things, or at least didn't want to take things seriously. But it has been said that the etymology of the term entertainment, when you break the word down, it is enter and detain. So
Oh,
you
okay.
are detained while spirits enter you.
Profound. Mm.
Look at the movies that have been given to us.
Okay.
The a lot of movies are about witches and vampires, right? They're throwing it in our faces what they're doing.
Mm.
And we have been blind, right? The scales have been on our eyes for a long time. Now today the scales are being lifted, right? We're in the age of Aquarius, as you mentioned
Yeah.
before. So now there's the pouring of information. And now you really, people don't even have an excuse anymore to say, well, I didn't know. If you don't know, it's because you choose not to know. But now we are in the age of know.
Mm.
You can know whatever you want. It's at the tip of your fingers. Now, just a simple Google search, and you can find all of these things. But the irony to me is that this information has been there the entire time. Again, Epstein is a piece of the puzzle, but he is not the entirety of the puzzle. He's not the full picture. He is just a small part of what has been going on before our eyes this entire time.
Before you move on, can I talk a little bit about the entertainment industry? What I notice is sometimes they will slip in perversion through comedy. If they can get you to laugh, they'll talk about perversion, they'll talk about inversion, they'll talk slip sex in the comedy, slip, you know, they like talking about the bottom
Hmm.
behind parts and
Yes,
just to get you to laugh, and before you know it, you're participating
yes,
in the perversion.
absolutely. The
Yes.
reason, one of the reasons why they refer so much to the bottom is because it's part of their rituals,
Okay.
right? In the entertainment industry, there are three main rituals that occur: sodomy, sacrifice, and public humiliation.
Hmm. Okay.
When you talk about the sodomy aspect, it has been said that, of course, the anus is actually connected from the spine to the brain.
Okay.
And with that, they are able to enter your body, go to your brain, and it opens up your body to the spirits, right? So they can use this to channel spirits into these entertainers, right? Look at the word idol, right? In the Bible, it talks about idols being false gods. Well, they've normalized the term idol,
Sure did.
to where we call people our idols.
Mm.
And so now they've gotten people to blindly accept idol worship, not realizing you're not just worshiping or celebrating that artist or that performer that is on stage or on the camera. You're worshiping the entities that are inside of them.
Mm.
Many of the entertainers talked about what is it? I can't remember the term. Give me just a second. Alter egos.
They sure do.
Right.
Beyonce
And
and Sasha Fierce. Mm-hmm.
exactly. And they'll say they this is the reason why she, for example, stopped doing interviews, because she was given too much information. And people back then started to question what was really going on. A lot of her band members have come out and openly said that she practices witchcraft.
They sure do.
Right. You look at Erykah Badu, she calls herself a witch. And we have accepted these things, and they have made it to seem cool. Right. So now we have people, everyday people, that will call themselves witches or call themselves whatever, but it's perversion. Right. And it's worshiping of entities that we have to really question. And so now it is time to question what is going on.
When we're channeling entities by participating in these rituals, watching comedy shows, watching movies, celebrating entertainers, somebody brought up American Idol. When we're entertaining, are you saying or alluding to the fact that these spirits then enter your body?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And then once those spirits enter your body, do they control your behavior or influence your behavior?
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. So when we look at what all of what's been going on in the country and in the world today, you look 100 years ago or 50 years ago, a lot of the things that are acceptable today were completely unacceptable just a few decades ago.
Mm.
Right. It's interesting. You look at Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She said many years ago, I think in the 70s, that they were trying to put our men in dresses. She said that the sagging is about taking off the pants and putting on the dresses.
Mm.
And so, again, she was laughed at. Right. She was called crazy. She was called a conspiracy theorist. And now today, many of the men who are artists are openly wearing dresses. And we are accepting it as normal when this is, in fact, not normal behavior.
Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, I'm not sure what her doctorate was in, which discipline, but I do know she wrote a book called The ISIS Papers. That is a very, very profound book. The woman was actually under the tutelage of, what's the gentleman's name? He wrote the compensatory, the racism. What was his name? Dr. Neely Fuller was her mentor.
Mm-hmm.
A profound lady. I would recommend people to read her book called The ISIS Papers, and you can find a lot of her lectures on YouTube as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned that a lot of people have been stepping down.
Yes.
That's because they were in secret societies.
Mm.
All of these secret societies, obviously, they're very secretive. They don't let the mainstream people know what's going on. But even you look at the fraternities and the sororities, they get our children early. Soon as they leave the homes, they first tell you to leave your home, come to the college campus, live on campus, and then start into this organization that's going to advance your career.
Yeah.
And they will tell you, they'll promise you that you can move up, but it's important to join fraternities and sororities in order to advance in this society. So a lot of people have joined these groups, joined these fraternities and secret societies, and uh, joined the Masonic Lodge, right? A lot of pastors, especially the mega pastors,
Hmm.
are Freemasons.
Okay.
And so they don't mind lying to the congregation.
Hmm.
All right. Even you look at the day of worship being Sunday, that was changed during the time of Constantine because he was a worshiper of the sun god. And so they changed the day of worship to Sunday so that the people could give their energies to the sun god.
Do you remember which council that was where it happened, where they changed the day of worship?
The Council of Nicaea,
I see it.
I believe,
Yes, that sounds right. Yes.
around 300 AD.
Okay. Yes. So they changed or perverted the day of worship from the seventh day till Sunday. And it's interesting because now you talking about it on the seventh day in the scriptures, if you're a Hebrew or Christian, the biblical God rested, right?
Right.
But people say you rest on the first day of the week. So that came from the Council of Nicaea. And I believe those were Roman emperors or Roman people. Okay.
Yes.
That.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of what we're following is from Rome. Even you look at the Bible again, you look at the Old Testament, you look at the stories of Jesus, and then you fast forward to Paul. Paul actually went against what Jesus said. Right.
You're the
Paul
only
said,
pastor, excuse me, you, because you were a young pastor. A lot of this you've been talking about for years in your early 20s. You were the only pastor I ever heard said you were not a fan of Paul. Can you explain why?
well, I actually read the book. Most
Oh,
people don't read the Bible.
okay.
All right. Most people, if they read any of the Bible, they'll just open it and read a scripture or two. But what book have you ever read where you just opened it to the middle and just started reading, starting from chapter 11? Usually you have to start from page 1 to be able to understand what's going on.
Yes.
Most people skip the entire Old Testament. That's what Christianity is about today. Is we've done away with the Old Testament. That's the time of old, and now we are only in the New Testament, which is the time of Paul, which Paul went to Rome and taught Rome the teachings of the Israelites and the Hebrews.
Mm.
So when you look at even the names of the Bible, of the books that Paul wrote, Romans, Ephesians, Colossians, these are cities and states in Europe, right? Colossia and Ephesus. So, and Rome, obviously. And it's, again, when you read it, he's teaching the people the ways of the Hebrews or the ways of the Jews, which the term Jew comes from the tribe of Judah, right? Because at that time, it was, I believe it was only 2 tribes left in Israel, Judah and Benjamin, I believe. So when Paul was going into these areas of the world and teaching the people, he would often talk about them performing orgies and doing debauchery right in the church. He was saying, look, y'all can't do this. Like, y'all going too far. But why were they doing this? Right? Because that is they practice pagan rituals. Now, again, let's fast forward to today. What's going on today? All of these holidays are pagan. You look at Valentine's Day. We just left Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is a pagan day, right?
Okay.
It's a pagan holy day where they would whip the women with whips and chains till they would bleed profusely,
Oh my
and
God.
then they would SA the women. And now they, over time, they would modify it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Make it more palatable for the masses of people. But again, people often don't look at the history. People often don't want to look up the history. And like you said, I've been talking about these things for a long time. Many people have talked about these things for a long time, but up until today, if you mentioned these things, people didn't want to know.
That's true.
They would say things like, "Don't ruin my holiday," right?
Which
Let
even
me
that word holiday is a perversion of the word holy day. Oh.
correct. Yes. You look at Christmas. Christmas is a pagan holiday, right? But
Right.
they take parts of one world and one reality and parts of their world, and they mix it, they infuse it, and then they disseminate it to the mass of people so that people again can accept it, and so that it can be more palatable, right? So when you
Yeah.
say that Christmas is about Jesus, then everybody is happy, right? And people would just easily dismiss the roots of what was going on at the time and why they worshiped on that day, for example, right? What they were doing, why they had trees in the house, right? Why they had lights, and why we put lights up today.
And
We
Jeremiah
don't,
even talks to you against putting trees in your house. But go ahead. Go ahead.
but see that again, people don't read.
Mm.
Right? They said during slavery, the or even after slavery, the best way to keep things from blacks is to put it in a book. Well, we have gone past the slavery of one group or one race of people, and after 1865, they made the international plantation where everybody is a slave, right? And it's funny because people say, "Oh, slavery," or used to say at least, slavery is no longer existed. It doesn't exist anymore.
Mm.
But I would question that. Right? They
Okay.
said the slaves worked from sun up to sundown.
Oh, okay.
9 to 5 is about sun up to sundown.
And it used to be 9 to 5. Now it's 8 to 5 because you got to have an hour lunch in there. So they
Right.
have you working 8 to 5 or 8 to 6.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
And you even let's look at the 24 hour of a day.
Okay.
Right? If you work for 8 hours, that's 1/3 of your day. Then you're supposed to sleep for 8 hours. That's 2/3 of your day.
Mm.
And
Dang.
then you have 8 hours left to do all of the things that you have to do in life, including getting back and forth to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eating, all of the uh, 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 self time, right? Raising your children. But what they did is they made people so busy that people didn't have time to investigate what was going on. If you
Wow.
keep the people tired, then they can more easily accept the oppression.
Mm-hmm. Before you go on, can you let's back up just a little bit to Christmas, because I think when you think of families coming together, food, holidays, gift giving, it sounds, I mean, it's so beautiful, and the music. Um, but the other side of that is actually what if I understand correctly, the Romans had their own way of worship. They were worshiping a whole nother entity, and they added Christ to that. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, they were doing sun worship, right? So the winter solstice is the time of the year when we go from the shortest days of the year and the day starts to the time of sunlight starts to increase.
Okay.
So during that time, they would put lights up to encourage the sun to come back out.
Hmm.
Right. And so that's the reason why we during holidays or during Christmas, why people put the lights up
To
on their.
entice the sun come back. It's like
Yeah.
Saturnalia worship.
Yes.
Yes. Now, you had mentioned about Christmas trees, and I just wanted to show this just quickly how Jeremiah talked against Christmas, well, trees. And this is why some people don't have trees in your house. Jeremiah 10:2, thus saith the Lord, learn not the ways of the heathen. Be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Number 3, verse 3, for the custom of the people are vain. For one cutteth the tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with an axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. And I would encourage people to read the rest of that, but it's fascinating. He goes on to talk about they're upright as palm trees, but these trees don't speak. They need to be carried. They cannot go. Don't be afraid of them. They cannot do evil. Neither also is it in them to do good. For as much as there is none like unto thee, O Lord, speaking of the God of the Bible, thou art great, and thy name is great and might. So why do you think Jeremiah the prophet dedicated several texts, or I would say verses, to warn the people not to put trees in their house?
Because at that time they were dealing with some of the same things, if not all of the same things that we are dealing with today. Right. History
Okay.
does repeat itself, or at least rhymes, as they say. Right.
Okay.
There's nothing new under the sun. We have this idea that now today we're at the most advanced that the world has ever been, that we know more than the people of old. And in truth, relative to the information that they had, the knowledge that they had, we know very little, if anything at all. Right? We are blindly following people and things that we don't know about and don't have any understanding of. And so that's the reason why it is important to research, right? The scripture says, study to show thyself approved, right?
It also
Nobody.
says you worship that you know not of. To your point. Good.
Exactly. And again, this is the reason why I encourage people to actually read the scriptures in a historical concept, right? And then a spiritual aspect as well, but not just in a religious context. Because we have to understand that religions were created for control purposes, right? The reason why Paul went to Rome needed a way to be able to first control their own population. Once they were able to control themselves, their own people, then they were able to spread out. And then comes the Roman Empire. But again, they entangled all of their pagan worship with things that could be accepted, and they intertwined it, and then were able to move forward and conquer the world. And the scriptures say that the devil would and his legion would run the world for a time period. And that is what we have been seeing in our lifetime, is these evil entities ruling the world.
As I hear you talk, I'm thinking about how there are also scriptures that warn people, men, because a lot of time it's written to the man, not to marry strange women.
Because
Can you speak to what that means?
Well, when you marry stranger women that are not from your culture, you have to accept, or when you marry anybody who is not from your culture, you have to accept certain things that is normal in their culture. And even you open yourself up to potentially having to accept their gods, right? Look at King Solomon,
Okay.
right? He had 1,000 wives, or 700 wives and 300 concubines. He made temples to all of their gods, right?
Mm.
But now, uh, King Solomon actually wrote the Satanic Bible. He he accepted the ways of the heathens, of these other people who their ways were not like unto our ways. And so then he was also known to be a sorcerer, right?
Mm.
They say that he had a ring where he was able to control demons and use these demons in order to build the temples.
Mm.
So you have to be careful about what you accept, and you have to study before you do things. You have to know what you're doing. Because if you do things without knowing, then you can very well find yourself in a conundrum. You could find yourself compromised based off of things that you would not have normally accepted.
This goes deep because it's not just like a marriage, whether it's a man or a woman. There, it's not just about culture and their ways, their religion, but also it used to be a time you had to examine the bloodline of the person. Even when I married your dad, for those that don't know, Dex Lattimore is my son. We were just coming out of the time where you had to take a blood test. We took blood tests, but I think that was the last time because you literally had to take a blood test to ensure that your blood was compatible.
Exactly.
And further, before, like even your grandmother, your dad's mom, ensured that my bloodline, my lineage, would be compatible with your dad's bloodline and lineage. They were really serious about that, the elders. So the lineage, the literal blood and blood type had to align with the person that you were enter into covenant with, whether it's, I'm not even talking about a legal marriage or certified marriage, that too, but covenant marriages. If you had common law marriages, that it was that deep to them. Bloodline,
Absolutely.
blood type needed to be compatible.
Because even if you think culturally, if a husband and wife are from different cultures, and these cultures have different ways of living, say the husband and wife don't accept the other culture, that's fine, that's one thing. But what about the children?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So now you can easily confuse the children, but also when you understand um, how to conquer people, right? When these people came onto the planet and conquered the world, the first thing that they did was to take the women
Mhm.
and impregnate the women, take the children and turn the children against the mother's lineage. You look at through here in the American history, they did that with the Native Americans. In Africa, in Asiatic world, they did the same thing. So their armies were armies of mixed breed people.
Hmm.
And because the children accepted the father's culture, it became acceptable to them to destroy their own native culture.
Okay, because the father was the conqueror that made
Yes,
it with the women on the land. Oh, got it.
yes,
Which could
yes.
be a reason. I don't mean to get off too much. That the people in power allow all these people from all over the planet to come into the Americas or into other lands. It's a way of conquering because you know
Absolutely.
they're going to end up sleeping with the women and producing baby. Then the people of power who brought these people in can control the woman and the child. I'm sorry, I'm making the connection here.
That's correct.
It is an
When you
act
talk,
of war. Go ahead.
yes, and see, that's the thing is war is not only on the battlefield. War is fought in many different facets,
Mm.
right? War is marriage, right? When the Europeans first came to America, they married the women first.
Okay.
They learned the ways of the people. They didn't come with the swords initially.
Mm.
When they conquered Africa, they came with the Bible, right? In order to taint the minds of the people.
Mm.
And once you accept their ways, then you accept their domination.
Mm. Excuse me, before we go on, someone asked where can they find you on YouTube? So I just want to thank you, first of all, for being here and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us. And at the same time, share your YouTube channel. He studies economics, geopolitics, and as you know, he also studies history. This is his channel here, Dex Lattimore, and he's building up his channel. We have several podcasts there on his channel. So I did put the link in the description or in the chat for you. And family, if you are enjoying this breakdown of what's been going on historically with us, with human beings all across the planet, please be encouraged to watch his YouTube channel. And if you want to send a donation to his work, because he is working on books, you can send it to his Cash App at $ Dex Lattimore. Thank you, family. Mr. Lattimore, before you go on, I want to talk about blood and blood types. The reason why they took a blood test is, for example, if you have, let's see, what is it called when sickle cell anemia? If you have sickle cell anemia, then it's important for you to know who you're marrying, because if you marry somebody else with sickle cell anemia or with the trait, your child can come out with sickle cell anemia. And so you have to, and it's like that with other diseases. And there are some diseases that's specific to Judaic people, specific to people classified as Black or autochthonous people, specific to Asians. And so it's very, very important, if you care about, or if it matters to you how the child can come out, to make sure that whomever you procreate with, their blood type is compatible with yours. Nowadays, people don't seem to care, but I think at some point we did.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly we did. And that was another way of perverting the people, is by taking away the concept of marriage, right? People don't value marriage anymore. So even what you're referring to, why would you look into the blood type of the person that you're laying down with having children if you're not even considering being with them long term?
Mm.
So now again, things have been reversed, right?
Okay.
Turned upside down, turned on is head. The things of old that were normal and what we call tradition are now have been outcasts, right?
Mhm.
People don't want to practice the old ways, right? That was for our grandparents, our great grandparents. Why would we do that? We're in the modern age. We have everything we want and everything that we need, right? And do what thou wilt, right? Not understanding where that term comes from, or that saying comes from. So the ways of these evil entities is to cause confusion, to take away the information, the knowledge, so that, again, it's easy to control people when they're ignorant.
Right.
So now we have a lot of ignorant people who are unknowledgeable. And if you don't know what's going on, then you will accept what the people in power tell you.
Mm-hmm. There's a scripture, I'm trying to find it, that talks about the old path. I can't remember what it says exactly. Okay, I'm looking at Jeremiah 6:16 says, stand by the roads and look and ask for the ancient paths where the good way is, and walk in it and find rest for your souls. But they said, the people said, we will not walk in it.
You know, it's funny. Grandma often used to say that she knows that we are the Hebrews, that we are the Israelites, because we act just like them, right? The things that we say is ironic it's the same things that was said in the scriptures when the prophets came and said, "Hey, we're doing things totally improperly." They said, "No, we don't want to hear that." Many of the
Yeah,
prophets got killed. Right?
it's true.
It's unpopular. It's actually always been unpopular to give the information and to enlighten the people and to give the truth, because for some odd reason, people have not, for the history of time, people have not wanted to hear the truth. People would rather be stuck in their ways, right? And the problem is, it's hard to break a habit.
Yes.
So, and this is the reason why they wanted our children in schools early,
Okay.
right? Because now you the family doesn't even spend time with the children anymore.
Mm.
Out of the womb, you put them in daycare.
At 6
From day
weeks. 6 weeks at 6 weeks.
from
Yeah.
daycare, you put them in school. When the children come home, you're tired, they're tired. You don't want to deal with the kids. You put them in front of the TV.
Mm.
So we don't even know our culture anymore because we've been so brainwashed for so many generations that we have lost the information.
Wow.
But the good thing about it is it's still attainable. You just have to do your research. You just have to be willing to search out what it is that has been lost. And they did a good number of destroying a lot of the information
That's true.
that we're referring to, right? You look in like the 1600s and 1700s when Europe colonized the world. First, they kicked out the Moors from Europe,
Okay.
and then came the Renaissance period, right? The age of enlightenment for Europe was after they kicked out the Moors, right? What they did though is they burnt up a lot of the ancient texts. They had a lot of fires that occurred that burned and destroyed libraries that we built in Europe and in Africa. But they were doing away with this information so that it would be hard to find. They also confiscated a lot of information and took it to the Vatican. So that, again, it's hard to find this information, or they, at least for a long time, it had been hard to find this information. But again, we're in the age of the Aquarius, where all of this information can very well be found.
Absolutely. In fact, I remember reading one of your college books when I came to visit you while you were in college, and you had this book called Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James that was profound, talking about how the Greeks stole information and knowledge from the Egyptians. And then after they stole the knowledge, first of all, some of them sat under the tutelage of the Egyptians. Others of them just stole the knowledge and then burned down the libraries. Well, by the way, I looked up George G.M. James once I read that book that you had and realized that he died mysteriously after he wrote this book.
Yes. A lot of people who gave information, and even still today, a lot of them were unalived or mysteriously passed away or committed suicide, allegedly.
Yeah.
But this has been the way that they have tried to prevent this information from coming out. Because if he wrote that book, what would have been the next book that he wrote? Right. And so you have to nip it in the bud, right? You have to stop it before it gets out too much, because if the more the people know, then again, the harder it is to control them. And this has been all about control. But this is the reason why the collapse is occurring.
Okay.
Because the time is up, right? They know it, and now it's coming to the reality of the everyday man and woman. Right. All of these events that are occurring right now, right? Whether it be like the pandemic where the world shut down,
Mm-hmm.
or it be like these ice storms that are occurring today, right? They're finding ways to collapse the system, or at least to really to collapse the system, because it has to happen. This is the reason why, as you mentioned, many arrests are occurring today. Many people are stepping down. A
Yeah.
lot of the political leaders, a lot of financial elites, a lot of celebrities are stepping down or retiring because they're implicated, not just in the Epstein files. Many are implicated in the Epstein files, but Epstein was not the only one.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Yeah, I mean there were many Epsteins,
Okay.
right? So
Mm.
so if like even Donald Trump, one of his main lawyers early on was a guy named Roy Cohen.
Okay.
He did a lot of the same things that Epstein does in terms
Okay.
of getting information for blackmail purposes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Getting compromising information. But again, the even in order to get to a certain threshold, you have to be compromised. So you talk about the casting couch in the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had to go through the casting couch.
That's
And
true.
when you
Yes.
consider before, like today, you have different platforms where you can YouTube, you can create your own platform and your own audience. Before, there were no other avenues. You had to go to Hollywood, and so then it was much easier to control the narrative.
I see. You had mentioned to me the other day, speaking of, you mentioned the pandemic. You had told me before that shutting down the world during that time was preparation for it. Now, can you explain that?
Well,
Like
what
it
I
was.
believe is, yeah. Um, how do you collapse? The system is collapsing. It's inevitable,
Okay.
right? So then, how can you get the people to accept that their reality is going to
Mm.
shift drastically?
Okay.
Well, the best way to do that is to give a precursor, right? Which would have been the pandemic. Shut down the world for a time period, let people get used to staying at home, let people get used to not working, because a few years down the road, their jobs won't even be there for them to go to. All right. So now you look at this year, last year, thousands of retail stores closed for good. Restaurant franchises closed for good. Corporations, financial corporations, banks
Hmm.
shut down.
Schools
Now,
were consolidated.
right, right. But it was a matter of getting the people prepared for what is to come.
Which is
Uh,
what's to come.
the collapse of the system
Okay.
first, right? The system has to collapse in order to bring the new era, right? One of the things that you mentioned before is five dimension, right? We're living in the third dimension, but it was said that we were at a higher level in the times of Adam, for example. Even in ancient African uh, beliefs, they would say that there was a time where you could reach up and touch heaven.
Mm.
Well, when these beings came to this planet, they lowered the vibration of the planet
Okay.
and dropped us into this third dimension realm. So now it is important for us, as you always say on your show, to raise the vibrations of the planet.
Yes.
Right? Truth is the highest vibration. Right? When you hear truth, it resonates with your spirit, with your soul, because we are vibrations, right? The world is all vibration, sound and light and frequency is all vibrations. Lies and chaos is not consistent. It's not a consistent level of vibration. It's out of tune, right? So people today have been out of tune. The world is inharmonious. And we are having to bring back the harmony of the world, of this planet.
Yes.
All right. They say this is the newest, most recent planet. Even they talk about other planets. They said there was no life form on these planets. Well, we're living in the physical realm, but you can imagine even before we were born, we were spirit. Spirit is not physical. So why would there be people on these other planets if these are older planets and they have higher levels of vibrations? So now what has been said, though, you look, and because we're in the 3D realm right now, we're seeing things in the physical, and we're conducting life in the physical. But when we raise the vibrations to a certain point, we will go beyond the physical.
Wow.
Right? And the planet will be raised into the heavens, past the third dimension, past the fourth dimension, and into the fifth dimension.
Wow. Do you espouse the idea that some people can be actually living in a fifth dimension or higher dimensions while others live in lower realms or lower dimensions?
Absolutely, certainly,
Okay.
certainly. Even you talk about terrestrials, extraterrestrials, and interterrestrials, right? We are terrestrial, meaning that we live on the plane, on the planet, right? But there are interterrestrials that live inside the planet, and there are extraterrestrials that live outside or above the planet. They say that the beings that conquered this planet are 4D, right? 4D, you can't see them unless they come to your level.
I see.
Right. I heard a concept that ants, for example, live on the second dimension, right? And in 2D or paper, right? This is 2D. So
Okay.
the ant cannot see you unless you come down to their level, right? So now there are beings, though, that can go in and out of different dimensions. We, as third dimension beings, eventually, it has at least been said that eventually we will be able to go into the other dimensions, right? So even you talk about many of the monks, or many of the monks in Asia, or many of the spiritualists in Africa, some of them have the capabilities of going into other dimensions, right? But here in America, it is being written off as fantasy,
Yes.
fairy tale, right? But the interesting thing is, again, they put these things in our movies,
True.
but then they tell us it doesn't exist. But if it doesn't exist, then how did you get the information? How did you think of these things?
Like fairies and mermaids, that
Yeah,
type of
exactly. Exactly. But when you go to Africa and you go to other parts of the world, that's their reality.
It is. Do you remember when we were in Ghana, we were walking somewhere and we saw all these reporters and people gathered out in the square? And we had just missed a particular incident and the people were reporting on it. They were talking about it. I was so upset that we missed it. Can you speak briefly to what happened? in Ghana?
Yes, and just to let you know, the article is still there. You can look it on Google. You can
Mm,
type in "man turns into bird" in Ghana. So
okay.
when we were in Ghana, you, me, and my brother, your son, your other son, were walking through the street, and as you said, there was a crowd of people. There were the news channels reporting, and we asked the people, "What's going on? What happened?" And they reported back to us, "Oh, three men turned into birds." And they were at an old man's house, and they turned into birds at night, flew away, and when they came back early in the morning, they landed on the wrong building. They landed because he lived right across the street from the police station, and they landed in the police station. Well, two of the men turned back into birds and flew away. The third man, when he was turning back into the bird, before he could transform, he was arrested.
Yeah.
And I remember asking him, why? First of all,
Yes.
why was
Yes.
he arrested?
Mm-hmm.
And the response was, "Oh, it's illegal to turn into animals." I said, "Excuse me?" Not impossible.
It's illegal.
It's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
But now then we have to ask the question, who makes the rules in Ghana?
Mm,
It would be the British.
right.
The British make the laws and the rules because they colonized Ghana, as well as Europe colonizing the rest of Africa. So Africa is under the rules and control of the European colonial powers. And so, again, it was said to be illegal. And said, "So you're telling me it's possible?" "Oh, yeah, no, it's possible. People do it all the time,
That's what they told us. Yeah. Yeah.
but you're not allowed to. You can get arrested if you get caught."
Yeah. And they were saying, now that they're Christian and they have a different perspective on life, you're not allowed to turn into birds. You're not allowed to practice any of their traditional ways. It was amazing to see. And everybody, they were just talking about these people flying like that was an everyday occurrence.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They also talked about mermaids.
they did.
All right. They're being even again, sirens and mermaids are in the books and in the movies in America, but then they'll tell you, but that doesn't exist. That's fantasy world. But
Didn't you have somebody from Senegal, excuse me, that say that they talk about being from the mermaid bloodline? Some of the people, was that Senegal or Ghana?
in Ghana,
Ghana. Okay.
there were I was talking to a lady in Ghana about mermaids, and she
Mm,
told me that a pastor actually came out and discussed how he was led into an occult of
mhm,
pastors and people in a secret society, and he said that they did different rituals, right?
mm,
And he was saying that one day he ran into a mermaid, and the
mm,
woman, he didn't know that she was a mermaid because she was walking on Earth, right,
mm.
in the country. And when he met her, he asked who she was, where she's from. And she said, "Well, I can tell you, but you have to, keep it amongst us." And she said, the man and the woman went to his house, and she instructed the man to lock the door, because if the people find you when I introduce you to my people, they'll think you're dead.
Mm.
Right. So he said that um, he, when he locked the door, they went into the water world. And that's when he found out that she was a mermaid. And he met all of her family.
That's right.
And he said that he was in this realm for 3 days.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yep. Hmm.
the information is there.
It's there, and I don't think it's sacrilegious. I think it's just different from what people are used to.
Hmm.
Because I remember talking to a woman when I was in Ghana, and she actually studied her traditional ways, and I call her my sister. She ended up marrying a king, but she was talking to me, and then she went into another realm and started talking to what she called the water gods. And after she entered that realm and talking to the water gods, what she would call the water gods, maybe it was her ancestors, she started talking to me about what was going on in my life. She talked to us about the medicine we needed, the herbs to help your dad when he was ill. And those herbs actually sustained his life for several years. It was just profound to enter into a realm that was different from what we're accustomed to.
Yes. And again, these things exist, but they have taken away this knowledge and information from the people here in this country
Mhm.
and written it off as fallacy so that
Mhm.
it would be considered make believe. But if it's make believe, then why would they make movies like Little Mermaid,
Mm.
where it literally says the same thing, right? About a little girl, a mermaid, coming onto Earth.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, but again, fallacy. That's the easiest way to discredit people is to say it's conspiracy or just crazy. That's crazy talk. When I was telling people here in America, when I came back from Ghana and was telling people, people are turning into animals in Africa, they said you're crazy. There's no way that's possible. That's why I looked it up. I said, let me look to see if it's even online, because if the people were reporting about it, then it might be online. And I found that very story
Mhm.
right on the internet. And that's when people said, you know what? It's still crazy, but maybe you have something, there might be something to that.
Mm, mm, mm.
But when you look again, it's about control, right? So you look at Africa, you look at the politicians and the judges in Africa, they wear wigs,
Mm.
representations of the Europeans that colonized them, which shows who's really in control or who has been in control.
Wow.
And so then when you talk about why people are stepping down, it's because we have entered a new era.
Okay.
The things of old cannot continue. People know too much, right? The information travels faster than ever, or faster than
Yeah.
in our lifetimes, we'll say, right? Like in the beginning of this video, you said you showed people from all parts of this country tuning in, people from other countries
Yeah.
tuning in,
Hmm.
and instantaneously information can be spread, right?
That's
The Epstein files instantaneously took over the world. So now everybody is looking at their own leaders,
mm,
right? My friend and brother Musa from Senegal,
mhm.
I was talking to him a few days ago, and we were discussing the Epstein files, and he said that they're in his country in Senegal. Somebody came out, same thing that Pam Bondi said, or something similar, said that if I tell everybody who's been involved in these nefarious activities, the country
Mhm.
will explode
Wow. Wow.
because essentially all of the leaders, or the vast majority of the leaders, have been implicated, and compromised themselves with children and with other nefarious activities. And so, if, and not just if, but when the information comes out, then the people will respond. and not
Absolutely.
in the ways, exactly, not in the ways that the leaders, the elite, would prefer. So
Can,
this is
can we
why
go ahead?
people are stepping down. No, go ahead. This is why people are stepping down, because that's the easiest way, right? People are stepping down, and even people are dying, right? They're just saying, oh, this person died, or they're even saying some people are getting arrested, but they're using different forms of taking down the leaders of old.
Can I show you just a brief clip of how deep has gone, if you don't
Mhm.
mind? Okay, it's just a brief clip, family. Bear with me. If you are enjoying this podcast with Dex Lattimore, historian and economist, he is the economist of the Soul Tribe, then please make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel. I'll put that link in the chat for you. If you'd like to support his work financially or send him a donation, you can send it to his Cash App at $ Dex Lattimore. That's $ DEXLATTIMORE. And yes, that name is a very popular, familiar name if you're wondering. Most of the Lattimores are musicians, and he is, in fact, a very, very well accomplished musician, as well as a historian and economist. Okay, so I just want to show them, the family, briefly, something that I showed before, Mr. Lattimore, about how deep this goes. You said your friend from Senegal, your brother and friend from Senegal said, if the leader said, if we show the people or tell them how extensive this these behaviors with Epstein are, with children are, the whole country will explode. Well, there was somebody that's from the military that said the same thing about America. Pam Bondi, the attorney general, said it. She said, if we prosecute everybody who's been involved in the Epstein files, the whole system would explode. But I want to let you all hear from this military gentleman just briefly, family. If you'd like to, you can also go to my YouTube channel, look in my video section, and you will see this gentleman here. And now I want you to give your thoughts, Mr. Lattimore.
Sure.
Literally, they have.
Sorry. See, there we go.
Dinner tables with pregnant women getting on the table with plates as the woman delivers the baby onto a plate for the individuals at these dinner tables. They're feasting. If that's not disturbing enough, there's so much more deep stuff that they haven't found yet. There's 3 million pages. And trust me, we, the people who are working on it, we're all working on it. We're all looking. This is going to have ties to every government official, cop, politicians, all the people at the Grammys. I mean, everybody. There's going to be so many people. It's going to get sickening. And this is 100,000 times worse than the dark web. There, for instance, like Roblox, there's 46,000 cult organizations watching your kids on your iPad on Roblox in the United States of America. And what's in the Jeffrey Epstein files, there's over hundreds of thousands of cult organizations in it. I'm telling y'all, it's bad. It's real bad. Every school in America where your kid goes to school, there's an organization with the Jeffrey Epsteins. It's not just the Jeffrey Epsteins. Trust me, there's somebody in his shoes right now. But that organization, they have a deal for every school in the United States of America where your kids go. Literally, when they take their picture for the yearbook, right, sends to that every school district to that one specific place. They look at every one of them. They have a team of them, and they pick the ones they want. Last names, family trees, real deep, and it's sick. And they'll pick some of them out, and they'll just disappear from schools. You'll never see them again. We'll never see them again. So, like, every day that you get up and go to work, I just want you to know that's what's on my mind now. It'll never leave my mind unless we do something. The Constitution of the United States states that you can literally overthrow your government. And I'm sorry, but I think this generation's gotten soft. And I'm 29 years old, and I've lived through 6 years of world record inflation. And now they dropped this on us before the Super Bowl. Now we knew it was going to be bad, but I mean, this should be an awakening. This is the worst this is the worst of the worst. If we don't do something, I don't know what to say, but I can't continue to feed this crap. I'm ready. I'm prepared for anything, and we could all stand united. Doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, conservative. This should reunite all of us. Right now, instead of ready for work Monday, we should all be in the street. I mean, where you live right now, the street is right there. We could all walk on the street. We could all use our voices. We could all do something instead of feeding the system with this shit. I just can't do it no more. I can't. But I'm ready. I need to know where the real men are, the old school cast, and I'm talking about all colors, Mexicans, blacks, whites, all colors, and then you name it. I'm ready. Count me in. I'm ready. I'm literally ready. I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to mess some people up with our United States Constitution. I'm ready to mess some people up, and not scared to death. Not scared to death, and nobody should be. I think this is our calling. If you're alive, I think this is our calling. I think it's time. I think it's time for us to take action. They'll say violence is never the answer. Well, you know, when you push a dog to the corner so bad, eventually it'll bite back. And I think this is our shot, people. I think this is our shot to kick in doors and kick in teeth. I think it's time to make action for us. I think we could do it. And when we do it, shit, let's all take a vacation the rest of our life. You know, we don't have to work like a slave, like we all have been for all these years with this indoctrination, school system, hospitals, 18 years wasted of your life at school. And then they tell you to go to college and you're in debt until you're 90 years old. I'm ready, yo. I'm ready. Where y'all at? Where's everybody at? Where y'all at?
Whew. Your thoughts, Mr. Lattimore.
It's getting very serious. And this is the point, is the more people know, the more people get upset, get angry, become radicalized. And that is just an example of somebody who has been pushed a bit too far. People are reaching their tipping point where you can't just explain away what's going on. You can't just write it off and dismiss it. Oh, it was just one guy, Jeffrey Epstein. We arrested him. He committed suicide, and there's nothing else to see here. No, people know that there's a whole lot more going on, and now the information is flooding the masses, and people are being able to see and read, and now all of the conspiracy theories are turning out to be factual, or at least a good portion of them, right? And even the term conspiracy theory, people have to understand the definition of conspiracy, right? It is when two or more people plan against the masses of people. So, but now people say conspiracy theory and think that a conspiracy is always a theory. No. The people in power have been conspiring or planning against the masses to keep them under their control and their subjection. But they said the people should not be afraid of their government. Their government should be afraid of the people.
Okay.
Right? You look at America, the Revolutionary War. And the irony is the Revolutionary War occurred because the people got tired of paying taxes to Britain. And so they overthrew the British through war. But now the problem is the so-called founding fathers were all Freemasons. So
Okay.
them overthrowing the British government wasn't about freeing the people. It was about them taking control of the people.
Hmm.
So today we're at a point where too much information is being put out. And the crazy part is the people in power just 10 years ago were so comfortable
Mm-hmm.
that they were openly making statements, right? Like PISA.
Okay.
The PISA-gate occurred a few years ago. I don't know if you remember or
Mhm.
that.
I do.
The celebrities were talking about, yeah, I had a great pizza party. Well, you're an adult. Why are you having pizza parties and hot dog parties?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously now we know they weren't talking about pizza and grape soda and hot dogs. And you know what's interesting to me is all of the protests that have occurred over the past
Oh,
few years.
yes.
Why are they not occurring right now?
Oh, good
Well,
question.
to me, it shows who was actually leading these movements, right?
Okay.
Like the George Soros of the world, who were financing these movements and radicalizing the people, but controlling the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
now a lot of people are talking about a civil war is brewing, and people are saying that it's inevitable because people, even when you talk about the protests, people got tired of protesting because after yelling in the streets and tearing up a few buildings, you still had to go to work because you still didn't
That
want to lose your residency. So you can only protest for a couple of days. You couldn't take off too many days of work.
mm-mm.
Well, they're doing the country and the world a favor. They're firing you or laying you off. Now you got time.
Mm.
The companies are collapsing. There is no work to go to. And so they're very much afraid right now because the thing about politicians, celebrities, public officials, they have a residence
Oh, that's right.
and people know where they live. And it's one thing to, like, I was talking to my friend Musa, and he mentioned, you know, why didn't revolution not occur during the Me Too movement?
Mm-hmm.
And my response to him was, well, adults is one thing,
Okay.
right? Because a lot of the people that put themselves into that situation literally put themselves into that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Now they might not have understood what all came with what they were trying to sign up for, but they put themselves, they had consent, right? They were adults, so they could give their consent. Now we're talking about children, our children. And so for me, if something happened to me as an adult, that's one thing. When you start talking about the children, now you're radicalizing people to no end. And now people become angry to the point of that video right there, where people were ready to go up in arms and saying, hey, even our own constitution says that we can overthrow the government. What are
That's
we
right.
waiting on?
Mm-hmm.
And see, the thing is, there are different ways to affect and bring about this revolution.
Okay.
There are two things that the people in power understand. That's bloodshed and money. We have been supporting the system financially, right? Now, you want to bring about the collapse, you look at the the civil rights movement, all of the protesting and yelling that we did was great. But it wasn't until we boycotted the bus system that we affected their pocketbooks. And then they started changing laws. Because just with the bus boycotts, we started shutting down entire cities.
Wow.
By not getting on their bus, then that affects one thing, and it's a chain reaction, right? And this is what they've been afraid of, is the domino effect, right? And right now, there are so many things going on that are problematic, and they're trying to prevent the dominoes from falling here, but then the dominoes are falling here. They try to stop this, and this one starts continuing. Then there's a whole nother problem over here. This is the reason why the collapse is inevitable.
When you speak of
unpreventable. Go ahead.
When you speak of children, excuse me, and the gentleman that was just speaking, he said things like your children are being watched on their games when they play some of these games. He said the pictures, when they take pictures on picture day, those pictures are sent to these PDFs, these people that were involved with Epstein and other Epstein people, because like you said, he's not the only one. And these predators would choose the child based on the picture from the children's picture day and say, I'll take that one. And those children would never return home. That is beyond what I've ever heard.
Why do we think we've been having missing children going on? They report missing children all the time, every year. So many thousands of children go missing. It's been right in our faces, but now we can interpret what we have been seeing, what's been going on. The veil has been lifted. How do we affect change? Your children are watching World Box, or they're watching these games. Adults are watching them, entice them. Their children are on social media. Adults are watching them. The children are going to school to be educated. Some of them come up missing. At the very least, stop participating. Okay. Right? Why are we allowing for our children to sit in front of camera screens? Right? Even why do our phones have screens, cameras on them? It's not for our, it's for our entertainment, in fact. But they are monitoring people. They wanted to make sure that people didn't have these conversations. Right? From the time that I had a cell phone, anytime I talked about these types of things, I could hear something on the other end. They've been monitoring. But again, stop participating. Stop putting your children in schools. It's so easy today to put the kids in schools because why? Oh, I got to go to work. Well, this was the reason why, again, they splintered the family, right? The whole feminist movement, for example, was financed by a man, ironically, David Rockefeller. So the concept was, we need more money in the system. We need more workers, and we also need to disseminate the marriage culture and the family culture. Well, send the woman to work. What does that do? We would say, oh, it gives you more income in the household. But no, it doesn't. Because now her income has to be spent in the system, right? Now there's nobody who's going to cook at the house because the wife is not going to cook. She worked just like you. She looking at you like, why would I cook? You cook. So now you're going to eat out. Now, more importantly, no one's going to watch your children. The parents aren't going to. So you're going to send your children to school. You're going to send them to daycare first because she has to go to work. Even this is the reason why the birth population, the birth rate has gone down in this country and globally. Because when women have to go to work, then they are de-incentivized or disincentivized to produce children.
Yeah.
So, but again, why are we participating, and why are we not even analyzing and assessing our participation, what we're doing, why we're doing, how we're doing?
Mm.
The man in the video mentioned Picture Deck,
Yes.
and it was a company called Life Touch. Even the name,
Yeah.
to me,
Mm.
is a representation of what they've been doing,
Ooh.
touching the lives of our children.
Mm. Mm.
But as you said, and as the video mentioned, they're not taking those pictures for you. This is the problem. People have become so self-absorbed that we think that everything that is done to benefit me. They put a
Wow.
camera on my screen so I can take pictures of myself. No, they're taking pictures of my children so that I can see a good picture of my children.
Mm.
No, that's not why they're doing these things. They're doing it for themselves and for the elite.
Mm. But you will have some people to say, but I can't. Then we talked about choice earlier. I can't keep my children out of schools. I can't function if I mean, you even have people celebrating when schools are back in session and being angry when schools aren't.
Yeah, because people are lazy.
Mm.
And people are selfish. This is the other problem. People are so selfish that it's more about them than it is about their own children. We're talking about the safety and the lives of the very children. And then people will get on here and say, well, I can't. I hear you. Some people will say, I don't even like what you're saying. But why would you say what you can't do instead of finding out how you can do it? Make it possible. Because anything that you want to do, you find a way to do it. So don't tell me what you can't do. Tell me what you maybe won't do or what you don't want to do. And I can accept that people are so selfish that they don't want to take care of their own children. But there was a time. You know, schools are a recent thing.
Okay.
Over the last century, they introduced schools. And the irony of the school system, we got our school system from, I believe, the Austrian or Hungarian, I can't remember which European country, where they were creating schools in order to train children to join the army so that they can have a military. Well, we took that in the late 1800s and 1900s and said, we'll train our children so that they can be workers. So now everybody is so caught up on this here, making that money, that we sacrifice our own children.
Come on. Sacrifice. Offering them up to Molech, offering them up to Baal, offering them up to the devil, offering up our children to the system, to the cabal, to the deep state. We'll talk about the deep state all day long and how we hate the Illuminati, but we'll just hand over our children willingly.
Blind participation. And then want to cry when one of them comes up missing.
That part.
And then when it happens to you, then you want everybody to be revolutionary and fight for your cause. But when you see it on TV, when it was your neighbor's child, you say it didn't affect me. So why do I care? I'm going to keep sending my children to school. I'm going to keep participating in the system. Because why? Because it benefits me.
And you know what they say? Well, I'm concerned about the socialization of my children. I'm like, socialization.
Do you know how these children are being socialized in
Tell it.
schools?
Tell it.
These children are becoming perverted in these schools. These children are being taught things that if you actually knew what they were teaching, you probably would not approve. But because you are not involved in your child's lives and your children's lives, you don't even know what they're learning.
Mm. I don't think some parents even care, honestly, because
That's
if we did care, we do something
we
about
do
it.
something.
If we
Period.
did care,
That's
we don't
that's
care.
the reality. People don't again, people are so selfish. It's not about my children.
Mm-mm.
It's about me.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I can have my time, because a lot of these parents that talk about how they can't are sitting at home doing nothing. Heck, some are sitting home watching this video right now,
Woo!
but don't have time.
Do you know there have been studies done on socialization, and the scientists and social scientists have actually documented with data supporting it that the best socialization comes from the parent.
It's a shame. It's a shame that we have to go that far, that people have to research and come up with data to give facts about what we already should know.
Mm, mm,
This is common sense.
mm.
But again, today, for some reason, common sense isn't common anymore. We got a lot of brainwashed people walking around, selfish people walking around, so self-absorbed that we don't care about anybody, not even our own children, not even our own legacy, not even
Mm.
our own bloodline. It's only about me. I don't care about my elders. I don't care about those underneath me.
Mm.
I wish them well,
Mm.
but now in terms of actually stepping up and doing something, being actively involved, oh, don't nobody want to do that.
Mhm.
Takes too much time, too much effort, too much energy. That's what schools are for, to babysit my child.
Some people will say, well, if we don't put our children in schools, we take them out, we can be arrested. What do you say to that?
Homeschool them. Homeschool
That
them.
part. Homeschool
There's,
them.
there's
Mhm.
always a remedy.
There's
But
always a remedy. Excuses. Go ahead.
bingo, that's exactly the word right there.
Mhm.
There's always an excuse if you want there to be.
Mhm.
You can always come up with a reason why you can't.
Mhm.
But for anybody who tells me whatever reason that they cannot do something, I can guarantee you I can find a reason in a way that you can. And if I can find it, then that means that you can find it too. And here's another problem. I'm tired of having to be the one to always come up with the answers. People are so lazy, they don't want answers. And then when you give them answers, they reject the answer because they didn't want the answer in the first place.
That's it. Mhm. Mhm. Or they'll say, "Well, I did it my way, but I still got in trouble." Did you really do it your way? Did you follow the guidelines of your way? When you took them out of the schools, did you follow the guideline? Did you homeschool them? Did you follow the
Right.
precepts, the guidelines
Mhm.
for
Because
homeschooling?
right, because if you just don't send your kid back to school, then they're labeled truant.
Right.
And the parent is responsible. But all you got to do is go do the paperwork, and it's not complex. It doesn't take a lot of time. And
Mhm.
what in God's name are these children learning at these schools anyway? Because half of these kids can't read. Like, what are we talking about, really? Like,
Well,
the
people,
schools have been dumbed down so much. These children are not learning anything in schools. They're being sexualized in these schools. They're learning what drugs to experiment, what positions to experiment with. They're being socialized into gangs
that's true.
and whoredom.
Yeah. And you were talking earlier about how schools were originally created to prepare your children for the military. Did you know that the food that's served in daycares and school systems are actually funded by and disseminated by the Department of Defense?
Make it make sense.
The Department of Defense
Hmm.
funding our children's nourishment and nutrition.
Yeah, but
Food.
see, that's the problem. The parents don't want to know these things,
Mm.
because then the more information that you give the parents, then they have to hold themselves accountable, and they don't want to be held accountable.
Mm-mm.
Accountability is blasphemy in today's time.
Mhm. Mhm. And you can educate your children if you bring them out of school without indoctrination. There are basic things you have to teach your child: reading, writing, and arithmetic. Those are the 3
Mhm.
basic things. And
Mhm.
even if they say, okay, you have to teach them some science or some social studies or whatever, you can create your own curriculum. Or
Mhm.
even if you're under, the school system that says you have to teach this curriculum, you are in control. I don't maybe I'm missing something. See, the reason why I'm not going to give excuses is because your Aunt Darlene started a school.
Mhm.
I worked in her school. Your dad worked in the school.
Mhm.
And she started in her basement.
Exactly.
Then she moved to the YMCA. Then she bought a building over time. We started with almost no money, with just my 4 and her 3. So it's kind of hard when you've done it and you've seen. Yeah, of course, you have people say, "Well, I need to see your curriculum, and I need to make sure the children are being educated." Then you follow along with as
Mhm.
much as you can. Get along with, render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, but
Mhm.
still control the narrative and control your children's education.
Absolutely.
Am I
And
correct?
that's
How do you think? What do you think about that?
100%. See, here's the thing for me personally. I don't give myself excuses.
That's it.
So because I don't give myself excuses, I don't accept excuses from others.
Mm-mm.
I can hear your excuse, but you probably don't want to have a conversation with me because I'm going to tell you that you're just giving yourself excuses and you're probably being lazy and irresponsible.
Mm. Speaking of the Department of Defense funding the schools' food, that could be why children are in schools eating donuts for breakfast and sweet cakes,
Mhm.
donuts, and orange juice, and starch and meat for lunch,
Mhm.
and candy and cookies for treats and pizza,
Mhm.
and Kool-Aid and chocolate milk. And
Nullifying the brain.
ooh, you spoke about the pineal gland earlier. Oh,
Yes, they're doing things to stupefy the children and the population. And
mm,
the schools is one thing, but the society in general,
mm,
they're poisoning our children.
mm,
They're poisoning us.
mm.
They put fluoride in our toothpaste. So the moment you wake up, you brush your teeth to become a little stupider.
Dang.
When you trying to be healthy, you drink some water, you're calcifying your pineal gland. So I mean, they don't get me wrong, they have done a number on us.
They have
But the problem is we allow it.
tacit agreement.
Uh-huh. If you don't say no, then you said yes.
Mhm.
Like keeping your mouth closed.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. So the remedy, from what we're saying in our conversation, is to not participate.
Mhm.
Withdraw your energy, withdraw your children, withdraw your participation, and the system will collapse
Mhm.
quicker, faster.
Mhm. It can happen overnight, just the same way during the civil rights movement when the bus boycott happened. In 3 to 6 months, we brought this country to its knees. It came to a screeching halt. We
Ooh.
forced them to the table.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
possible. And it doesn't take there's the other. It doesn't take everybody to do it.
It doesn't.
But if nobody does it, or if one or two people are the only ones doing it, then they become the target.
Hmm.
And that's the reason why the guy who wrote Stolen Legacy could just come up missing mysteriously.
Hmm.
Because if he's the only one talking about these subjects and nobody else really cares to listen to it and nobody else is speaking, then easy target on his back.
Mm. Even Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who you mentioned earlier, she eventually started having issues with the people in power. Her house was next to some governmental agency in Washington, D.C. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
And they started bothering her and harassing her, and she was fighting to maintain control of her own land, and then she died mysteriously. I don't know if people realize that.
What about Dr. Sebi?
Mm.
Same thing with him. He got detained while he was traveling. They say he had more than $10,000, and when you travel internationally, they say that you cannot have more than $10,000 in your possession
I remember
in
that. Yes.
cash or whatever. And so then they detain him, and then he dies of I can't remember what the pneumonia in jail. The herbalist,
Mm.
and they put it in our face and laugh at us.
I spoke to his daughter,
Uh-huh.
Dr. Sebi's daughter. We were doing a discussion or a celebration for Grandmaster, not what do they call it? Taj Tariq Bey. What do they call him?
Mhm.
The grand teacher, Taj Tariq Bey of the Moors. We were doing a birthday celebration with some of us that are connected to him, or we are influencers or whatever. We got online and we said happy birthday to him, and we sang to him, etc. Well, his daughter was on the live with us on the Zoom call, and off camera, out of the sight of everybody else, she was telling us his children knew they were going to take him, that he
Mhm.
wasn't going to come back out because
Yeah.
of the work he was doing, and they were
Mhm.
afraid. They were really concerned about his safety, and they of course were devastated, but they weren't shocked. And
Absolutely.
it's just troubling.
Because again, what was he doing? He made a name for himself by healing people, curing diseases. See, again, participation. People go to the hospital because they're too lazy to actually take care of their own health.
Ooh.
You'd rather get a doctor to give you some treatment, give you some pills, instead of being responsible.
Mm.
People don't want to exercise. People don't want to eat things that don't taste good. And so then now you're giving yourself to their system, right? Trusting, and this is the irony about our community. We specifically have had issues with these hospitals historically. Talk about the Tuskegee experiment, for example. Why does nobody care about these things anymore?
Mm.
Where they gave us diseases and experimented and watched us while we were dying and recorded it.
Mm-hmm.
But that was then. What's different between then and now? Because they still don't come up with cures. They come up with treatment. They treat your sickness.
Mm.
They don't cure it. They don't heal you.
They practice medicine.
Right. And see, the thing is, they don't make money if you change your eating habits.
Okay.
They
Wow.
make money on surgeries and medications, prescriptions. So they'll prescribe you with a medicine, or they will suggest that you get a surgery,
Mm.
but they're not actually fixing your problems, because that's the thing. They can't fix you anyway.
Wow.
It's you who have to do the self-reflecting. It's you who have to do the fixing of yourself. Why would you expect for others to take care of? This is, again, the problem. The mindset of the people today is so absurd. We depend on everybody else to do everything for us. We depend on somebody else to plant our food. We depend on somebody else to pick our food. We depend on somebody else to take care of our health, to give us our medicine, to instruct our children, to raise our children. But we expect that everything's going to work out perfect for us. And they don't want to admit why anything is happening that shouldn't happen. Well, take some accountability. How are you involved or not involved? Blind participation.
Tacit agreement. People got mad at Kanye West when he said slavery is a choice. You remember that? They tried to cancel him. But it made sense to me. I'm like, if you participate, we are participating in our own enslavement.
Correct. So even during slavery, right? They said you can only keep people in chains for so long.
Okay.
But you have to get the people to a point where they accept their enslavement. Right? It goes from the physical chains to the mental chains.
Okay.
And now our brains, our minds have been incarcerated. Whatever they tell us, we accept as truth. And if it doesn't come from them, then it's a lie. It's a conspiracy.
Speaking of conspiracies and how the world is perverted, I want to show just one more clip. I think this might be 1 minute. Do you have a second? Because I want you to weigh in on this as we talk about how the perversion is everywhere and it's going to lead to the collapse of the entire system. Family, if you are enjoying this, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also support Dex Lattimore. He has a YouTube channel. I'll put his name in his channel in a chat. If you desire to send him a donation or support his work as he is writing books to help liberate humanity, please send a donation to $DEXLATTIMORE. That's $Dex Lattimore. So one more clip, family, before we wrap up our conversation. I'm going to see if I can refresh the screen and let you listen to.
Here are some brands that were found in the Epstein files. Life Touch, the brand that takes 90% of our school pictures and also facilitates JCPenney photos. Yeah, they basically been giving our pictures up so it could be a catalog for these predators to look through so they could see what kids they want. 2, Chuck E. Cheese, the CEO, and now they're going to have a new one starting on February 13th because he decided to step down after getting caught. Wayfair was mentioned just short of 400 times in the files. So yes, y'all were completely right. And it was not a conspiracy theory when everyone was saying that Walmart and Wayfair are listing shoes and furniture at $100,000 price tags with the names of real children that were missing. It was not a conspiracy. They were really doing that. Victoria's Secret, Bath & Body Works, White Barn, and Pink. They're all owned by Les Wexner, and he is in the Epstein files. It's everyone.
She said it's everyone. What are your thoughts about what she said?
It sounds about accurate. Like, and again, it's been in our faces. This is what frustrates me, is that people have willingly ignored this information until they literally could not ignore it anymore. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in 2007, 2008. And if I could have found out the information back then why was nobody else in the know? Probably because people didn't want to know. Even the pictures, like why do we have children models?
Ooh.
Why do we have child actors? Let's think about the music that the children, they make music for children talking about being in love. Why are you talking about being in love when you're 10, 11, 12, 13 years old? Why do they put children in movies that are rated R? You telling me that the child is not going to see the other scene that he's not in?
Mm.
But nobody cared to think about these things. And if you brought it up, they would dismiss it. Well, now you can't dismiss it because it's right in your face and it's evidence.
You're talking about children being models. That leads me to one time I was talking to your brother, and I was like, we should put his daughter, my granddaughter, in some type of sport, you know, gymnastics or something, ballet. He said, let my daughter parade around in shorts. Let her parade around in a gymnastic outfit where all her vagina's out and exposed and all her legs and arms. And I was like, you are so right. I didn't even do that for y'all. Why would I mention that? Can you speak to how we've been so conditioned to, put them in some activities where the girls can cheerlead for the boys with their little bitty shorts, and they can model in front of grown men with makeup on. Like, we can send our daughters to play soccer and high school and college with a bunch of men and grown women as the only chaperones, but not the parents. Like, what is happening to us?
These things have been normalized, and we have accepted these things as norms. And so when you say, oh, you should put your child into cheerleading, it's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And we don't acknowledge the reality that they're parading our daughters around in mini skirts. It's literally insane. Like all of the female sports, with the exception of basketball maybe, but like the tennis, their skirts are so small that you can see everything. When they jump up and down, their skirts go right up. Perversion has been normalized.
Putting our little daughters in modeling agencies. My mother didn't allow me to do it. I remember when we thought about it, my grandfather said no, because when I was a child. But modeling, when you think about it, you got your little girl in makeup, you got her swimsuit competitions. Like, what are we doing? I
Perverting our children, literally.
I mentioned to the Soul Tribe the other day that I actually talked to a young woman who's in the sex industry and asked her, how did it get to this? Like, you're prostituting and you're sliding down poles. People think that's entertainment until it's their daughter. Then oh no. But how did it come to this? Well, it started off doing modeling.
Yep, taking a couple pictures here and there.
Yeah.
And then they tell you, oh, you look good in that dress, but try this outfit. Try on this bikini. And then, if we're just putting our children in their hands, then we don't know what's going on.
We don't.
Right? Because they can slip something in their drink easily.
And that's exactly what happened to her.
And then once you're exposed to it,
yep,
now it becomes a lifestyle, just that easily.
The children, they're modeling, and maybe the parents might come initially and they think, oh, I can trust these people, these strangers, and they might not show up. And so you got an outfit on, they might say, oh, that's so cute, now drop a shoulder,
But it's again crazy because the pictures, the JCPenney pictures, the Balenciaga pictures, whatever that these companies are, we see these things. We see the a 6-year-old child showing off her shoulder. Why have we accepted this for so long? That's the question I have.
We see the young men in underwear with all their genitals exposed in the underwear.
Insanity.
Yeah.
And we just accept it. It's normal. It's so become a part of our culture. And this is not culture. This is sick. This is satanic. This is ritualistic. But now the veil has been lifted. The scales have been lifted from our eyes and from our minds. But now the challenge is, what are you going to do? Because I can give you suggestions, I can give you all the answers, but what you going to do about it?
Mm, mm. I took my grandchildren, your niece and nephew, out the other day, and there was a young woman that had a skirt all the way up, exposing her cheeks. And then we went somewhere else because it was warm, and you got women walking around in bikini with thongs and all butt cheeks hanging out and breasts exposed, and laying in the sun with their legs open and or on their back with their booty cheeks out, or parading on the on the waters. We live in Florida, on the beaches, just gallivanting around. And I have to close my grandchildren's. We can't even enjoy the beach. We can't even go to the pool because these grown women think, well, I'm grown. If you shouldn't be looking, they don't even care. They don't care about nobody's husbands, nobody's boyfriends, nobody's companion. They don't care about their own man who will tell them not to dress like that. They don't care about the children. Selfish. Sexualizing the children. Because you want to do what you want to do. Do as thou wilt. Don't care. But then they'll say, well, he shouldn't have looked. He shouldn't be looking at you. Got all your body. You're advertising.
It's literally impossible not to look.
In the 1940s, women weren't showing their butt cheeks and wearing thongs and exposing their breasts. The men don't walk out showing their bulges. Most of them in bikini shorts, all are cutting up their thigh and up their penises. How come they can swim with shorts down to their knees, but a woman can't?
And the reality is, talk about don't look. You want them to look.
That's it. That part.
Otherwise, you wouldn't wear that.
That part.
You'd
right
wear
there.
something more appropriate.
Mm.
But again, the problem is everybody is so self-absorbed.
Yes.
We want so much attention, but we also don't want for people to take things a certain kind of way. But it's like, how are we supposed to take it? Like Dave Chappelle made a joke about something similar to this, about women dressing provocatively. And he said, okay, it's like a man dressing up as a cop, a police officer, and a person run up to them like, oh, I'm glad you're there, police officer. I need help. And like, what do you think? Just because I'm wearing this outfit makes me a police officer?
Deep.
Our women are literally saying this. Oh, just because I dress like a whore doesn't make me a whore. Really? What do you call it? Because I'm still trying to figure that out.
It's called freedom, liberation.
Yeah, right. Whoredom. You're free to do what thou wilt. Do everything. No discipline. This is where we have come in this world and in this country. Discipline is shunned upon. Freedom, liberty, the ability to do any and everything is accepted. But again, we don't know where that comes from.
Where does the philosophy do as thou wilt come from?
It was I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a Satanist.
Aleister Crowley.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do what thou wilt. And Jay-Z wore it on this. Even the Jay-Z's company that he had back in the day, Rockefeller. Sounds quite disturbing, if you ask me. Because why would you rock a fella?
Oh, I never thought of it like that. Wow.
They put it in the names, they put it in our faces, but people don't want. And if you say that, they're like, "Oh man, that's crazy. You're thinking too hard about it." Oh, so you're telling me that they didn't think about that? Nobody in the room, when that man suggested that idea, said, that's a little weird. Somebody might down the road say that this is strange. Yes. Alex, go say, what's his name again?
Aleister Crowley.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What were you saying?
The video that mentioned that the first video that you showed of the guy talking about how they would put pregnant women plates in this thing.
Yes.
They have celebrity galas where they have representations. They'll make a cake, a humanized cake, and eat it, cutting it up. And it's like, how sick, first of all, are they? And secondly, are we the people to just openly put it in our faces? We accept it as normal, or even if it's not normal, oh, that's just Hollywood being weird. You think they don't do that in real life when they turn off the cameras?
Yeah, they do. And in order to, and not just entertainers in Hollywood, right? In order for a lot of these people that are professionals to excel, that are part of secret societies, they had to do the same thing. Am I correct? Or chose to do? Either
And
had
bingo.
to do or chose to do.
I wouldn't say had to, because you didn't have to join the organization.
Oh.
It is a choice. Free will. We all have it.
Mm,
So going back to the beginning, good and evil exists.
mm,
And it exists in all of us. And then here's the interesting thing, right? It's so easy to criticize a billionaire for all of the things that they do. But the funny thing is, or the irony is, poor people have limitations. Poor people believe in God and pray and all of this. And only because you don't have the finances to do some things. But the same person, everyone watching this video, what would you do if you had $1 million?
okay.
It's easy to say, oh, they're sick, they're disgusting. But before they got their money, they probably said the exact same things about the people in power. But when you're poor, when you have limited funds, you have limited access. So you can only do so much, right? You can only afford to get so drunk. You don't have Diddy's money to where you can get so drunk and so intoxicated and so inebriated that you would literally die if you didn't have a hospital company that put you on IVs and resuscitated you. But when you have money, power corrupts.
Right.
Because then once you have, the more money you have, the more discipline you have to have. Because you'll find that you become more of who you are and what you more of what you are capable of, because now you have access. So again, the good and the evil, we all have the choice. As you said a day or two ago, choose ye this day. You can't say that you don't have. If you are an adult, then you have a choice. And if you have children, you better stop giving them so many choices.
Oh, okay.
Because the interesting thing is, nowadays we just let our kids do anything. We allow for the children to have boyfriends and girlfriends in middle school and think nothing's going to happen. And even worse, don't mind if things happen. Some of us, some of them, because it ain't us. People got to examine themselves.
Speaking of choose ye this day, thank you. I did do a video on that, and I was talking about how we all have choices. And in this reality in which we're going, while everything's being exposed, you can't say I was blind, I was dumb, I didn't understand, I didn't understand, I didn't know. If you're interested in looking at that video, you can go to my live section of my YouTube channel. Here it is. I say choose ye this day. We all will be forced to choose. I put forced in quotations because it's really not force. It's you actually have opportunity to choose 3D or 5D, good or evil, lack of discipline or discipline. It's all up to the individual.
Absolutely.
It's all up to the individual. There was one last thing I wanted to say. I'm not sure what it was. Oh, you mentioned about Epstein. It was you that told me that there was a timeline of Epstein arrests. And you said his arrests are actually connected with, do you want to finish that statement?
With the financial markets.
My God.
Every time we have a collapse, you look at what's going on with the Epstein file cases, and because the actual first case came up against him in 2005, where they started investigating him.
Right.
There were some rumblings in 2006 in the system, and then by 2008, when he was in jail, we had the crash, the economic crash. Then fast forward to 2019, he gets arrested again, and in fact, the financial system was collapsing at that time. Janet Yellen was saying we need to do something for our before our finances collapse, before we fall off the fiscal cliff. And then they shut the world down.
And then they shut the world down. We need to take extraordinary measures, she said. We reached the debt ceiling. We need to take extraordinary measures. So to recap what you're saying, and you can look this up, it's interesting because when you actually type in the dates that Epstein were arrested, I put these dates you told me, then the websites will fact check you and say it's not true, but then tell you that he was actually arrested. So what were the exact arrest dates and charges against Jeffrey Epstein? 2005, and you the one that told me that 2006, we had the housing market collapse. 2010, that led to 2011 with the Bitcoin collapse. 2019, the whole world shut down and we reached the debt ceiling. Go ahead.
The irony, talking about Bitcoin. People have been saying for years, since the creation of Bitcoin, that it's used for dark money. But still, for some reason, people bought into it because why? Because we wanted to profit. Right? The devil came to Jesus, Yeshua, and said, I'll give you the world. What's different today? Everybody's looking for a dollar, another way to make a profit, and is willing to look the other way when information comes out about nefarious activities. Oh, that can't be going on. That's conspiracy theory. You're crazy. I gotta make my money though.
So here we are in 2026, and the Epstein files have been dumped. If you were to say that Epstein's arrest and court cases are connected to the financial collapse, and you wanted to postulate or do some deductive reasoning, what would you say would happen in 2026 now that his files have been dumped?
Well, this is the reason I believe that we're seeing all of these arrests. We're seeing all of these store closures. We're seeing people step down. We're seeing people pass away because these people were all connected, and they're literally in his files. And everybody, at least behind the scenes, knew who was involved. And so every time he got arrested, there was too much spotlight being drawn on these people, the elites. And so they had to step back.
See.
And hope and wait for it to blow over before they could continue their nefarious activities. But see, even right now today, because of the Epstein files, they cannot do these nefarious activities. Everybody had to stop their activity with the children, for example, because the masses of people are looking. And if another person gets caught doing something today, then that may be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
They say that the Epstein files forced resignations across at least 10 countries. Diplomats, ministers, and royals come under scrutiny or under the scanner. I say it's more than 10 countries.
Oh, it's absolutely more than 10 countries. This might be happening in every country in the world right now. And see, this is what all of these wars were about all along. For the last 100 years, America, if any country that did not accept the new way, the new world order, then you were attacked. If you did not accept the masonry and the financial system, because all of this is tied together, then it wasn't just about oil or resources, gold and all of this. It wasn't about spreading democracy, except that it was in terms of democracy being a part of accepting their system, their Masonic and secret society system. If you did not accept it, then our country will go to war with you. And then they'll topple your government and then put in people that accept it.
Speaking of secret societies, Freemasons, people, being involved in all type of things, we have breaking news. Jesse Jackson just passed away.
84 years old, just passed away. Was he sick?
Wow. Civil rights icon dead at 44. Jesse Jackson, 44, 3 months after hospitalization. Interesting, right after the Epstein files were dumped. Passes away. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, he passes away after long illness. Go ahead. Yes.
It's just interesting that a lot of the people that have been involved, it would shock the masses of people. Like who would ever suspect that Jesse Jackson, unless you're a conspiracy theorist, then who would expect that these people were involved in these things? So the best way to, bring them down is to just pass them off, pass them away. They passed away.
Somebody says he definitely was Boulay, and Chief Max said, and we can't even trust that he's really dead.
Correct. But that's, again, the way to resign him is to say, well, he passed away. Now we don't have to worry about him anymore, but he will never be seen on TV anymore. He will never be a public figure anymore.
Okay.
They're using that label of death or unaliving to write these people off because they've been involved. And it's the very people that you love the most. And we have our idols and they call us fans or fanatics.
Dang. Wow. Fanatics. I tried to share a link, but when I shared it, Facebook is saying you cannot share this on Facebook because I'm trying to share it through my StreamYard. It says your content can't be shared because the link goes against our community standards. The link that I was sharing was resignation.info. So I'll just put it right here. A notable resignation list that came out starting between 2017 and 2023 of 14,000 resignations, about 14,000 people within 10,000 organizations and 171 countries. It lists World Bank leaders, government and presidents and vice presidents of different countries like South Africa, CEOs of YouTube, commissioner of the Canadian Police. You have the Moldova commissioner, prime ministers, CEOs of Netflix, president of Vietnam. I mean, it just goes on. And they tell you some of them been resigned, some been retired, some were fired, and some are unalived, and others the term just happened to end. But we knew then that a lot of these people that were fired, forcing to fire or resigned early had been a part of nefarious activities. And it even tells you the branches: healthcare, politicians, political minister, bank, police, and the positions: CEOs, presidents, directors, chairmen, board members. This was, and I think it was last updated in 2023. I can't even imagine. It's 10,000 people. Where are we today in 2026 with the updated list?
Mm-hmm. That's an excellent question.
So, I mean, we've been on for a while. Dex Lattimore, you are a historian, an economist, a former pastor. I mean, your list goes on. You're a world traveler. You have a specialization in international business. You have an economics degree, a dual degree, and also Pan-African studies. You've traveled abroad all across the world. You've sat with kings. You sat with chiefs and priests and priestesses. You've done a lot. With all that information and knowledge you accumulated over the course of your, 34 years? You're very young. How old are you? You're my son.
35.
35 years. What would you say your purpose in life is?
To do just what you say on your channel every time that you end your channel, to raise the vibrations of this planet, to bring about, to usher in the time period where we can be liberated, truly liberated, because we have accepted this incarceration, and it is up to us to liberate ourselves. And how you do that is first by raising your vibrations.
Okay. The Soul family is saying, you are amazing, Dex. You are awesome. So much knowledge. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Cosmic Empress Prosperity Speaks says, Dex, you are very much appreciated. The new world is here. Wow. And they said you're definitely fulfilling your purpose. Chief Max said, to create heaven on earth is our collective mission. Absolutely. Right. Any final words, Mr. Lattimore? And then I'm going to ask you, where can we find you if we wanted to support your work? Final words.
My final words will be that we just discussed a lot of information, and I will challenge each person with the question, what are you going to do about it? We look for answers, and then when we get the answers, we do nothing with the information often. I challenge everyone to do something with this information. Don't just sit there. Don't just accept it as entertainment. Don't just be content with what's going on. Do something about it, whatever that looks like to you. Find your own purpose, because everyone was placed on this earth with a purpose. It's up to you to find it and to actualize it. And that's all I would have to say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lattimore. You've been phenomenal, and we appreciate you sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and your experiences. The people don't even have an idea of how you are as a musician. We'll have to come on sometime and showcase your work. Is there anything that you want us to hear today, or do you want to save that for another day?
I'll save it for another day.
Save it for another. He's a phenomenal organist. He plays the lead guitar. What else are some of your instruments?
Piano, bass, a little bit of drums. And like you said, the organ and the piano and the guitar. Go ahead. And
your dad taught you these skills of how to play music. And you've been earning money as a musician since you were how old?
10 years old.
10 years old. Sometimes we talk about family. My channel really is about family, wealth, and legacy, although we talk about geopolitics and economics, because I'm trying to, or helping to, enrich the family and teach wealth and leave a legacy. So when you talk about family, wealth, and legacy, it's so important. So family, I want you to hear me, please, to have both the father and the mother involved in the rearing of the children, because even if the two have different ideologies, different philosophies, different gifts, even when both of them can pour into the child, you will create a beautiful human being. Dexter's father was an amazing musician. He had his own business, building houses, doing interior design, all of that. He could fix anything. I was the one, and he was an educated man. I was the one that was focused on read the book, study, helping with the family school that my husband's sister created. I was about books, discipline. And while their father was about discipline as well, he was a little more relaxed. Let them have fun, Key. Teach them how to do music and have fun and enjoy it. So I just think it's important, Dexter, for us as a family to implement the gifts, and experiences from both the father and the mother. You have any words about that?
I agree 100%. It takes two. If it takes two to create the child, then it takes the same two to raise the child and impart the wisdom, knowledge, and information that child needs. And when you neglect one parent, then you're neglecting, in fact, the child and the child's upbringing and the child's potential. Stop neglecting the children. Stop being so self-absorbed that we are willing to neglect the children. Make it about the children.
You're also a teacher. You've taught in the public school system as well. So you understand, and you have children. So you understand the importance of being, what it's like to be a leader, a companion, a husband, a father. All these things matter. As
Absolutely.
it relates to our children and the community. Because you're the one that taught me about families, community, society. Do you remember the statement you told a long time ago? We can end with that.
What's that?
Societies are comprised of
the weakest family.
What you said, surprised of communities are comprised of families, something like that.
Right. So it starts with the individual.
Okay.
Right. The individual, from the individual comes the family. From the family comes the community, and from the community comes the nation. And so a nation is just a group of families. But a nation is only as strong as its weakest family, as its weakest link. A family is only as strong as its weakest link. So then strengthen your families so that we don't just have a bunch of weak links in our society.
Okay.
Because things can be corrected, but people have to be willing to put in the effort.
How did you become such a wise young man? I've learned from you and actually sat with you and under you, so to speak, as the pastor. You were the pastor, I was the assistant, but you were the pastor, and I would just look at you like, wow, they say out of the mouth of babes. It's interesting how you can learn from your own children. That's amazing to me.
When you impart good information into your children, then they will in turn grow to be able to impart things to you and to the world.
Wow. Beautiful.
But the question is, what are you putting into your children?
Well, thank you so much for choosing to be my son, to coming through my womb and your daddy's loins.
Thank you both for the creation.
You're welcome. Where can we support your work, Mr. Lattimore?
You can look on YouTube under Dex Lattimore. And also I have another channel on YouTube that I have to get back to called Bible Resurgence.
Bible Resurgence. Okay. And what is that about? Here's the first YouTube channel I'm putting up here. Let me see if I can find your other one. Bible Resurgence. Let me see.
That's going to the scriptures,
Okay.
investigating the scriptures and giving pictures with the Bible so that people can watch it and get a bit of more understanding of what's going on in the scriptures.
Okay, I'm looking for that channel. I don't see it, but I can put it in the description section. It's called Bible Resurgence. Does your name attach to it, or just Bible Resurgence?
No, just that. But I'll send it to you.
Okay. And then, do you want anybody to follow you on Facebook, or do you prefer just the two channels?
You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. It's all under Dex Lattimore.
Okay, here he is on Facebook right here. This is Dex Lattimore. This is him, his mom, and his 7 siblings. There are 8. We have 8. And then the 2 grandchildren you all know, cherish, Mia Lattimore and Amin Rodis, when they were young. So this is Dex and his siblings, and me, the matriarch. I think Dad had just transitioned at that time. We took the picture, or he was sick. I think he was ill at that time. God rest his soul. So this is his page. He's a very serious young man. You're not going to find any playing kiki and kaka. You're not going to find him chasing women or talking about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's just not who he is, not his constitution. None of my children are like that. They are very serious. We didn't do the whole watching a bunch of TV, comedy, laughing, kiki kaka. I mean, they could sometimes relax as adults. Maybe when they got older as children, as teenagers, Dad would say, let them have a little, let them relax a little. But they were playing music, studying, doing research. In the summers, I had them in summer programs. They were doing electronic programs, math programs, journalism programs in the summer, all type of things.
We got enough people having fun. We need more people to take life seriously, because it is a serious matter. And I'll end with, I'm about my Father's business.
Woo! If you desire to support Mr. Lattimore, who is about his Father's business, the man is a preacher too. The man can break down the word. He can do eisegete, exegete, historical references. He traveled to some of these countries, studied Hebrew as well, Greek, so that he can break down the scripture. He's just a phenomenal young man, and I'm honored to have him on my show. If you desire to support his work, you can send him a Cash App gift to $Dex Lattimore, $DEXLATTIMORE. Is there any other way people can support you financially? Do you have Venmo or PayPal or anything like that?
No, I do not.
No. And you never asked for, you never even asked for offerings when you were a pastor, but this is just something I do on my show because I appreciate the expertise and knowledge and wisdom of our guests. So we love you, Mr. Lattimore. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you spending your time with us. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Soul family, we appreciate you. We love you. We honor you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to Mr. Dex Lattimore talk about all the things that are going on across the world. And what I love about what he did is he gave us solutions. Now it's up to us to do something about all the things that we've heard. I love you, family. You've heard from Dex Lattimore, and my name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I trust that we both said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. So family, we're going to end with that. I'm going to turn off the camera, but you can still keep chatting in the background. I'll put on some nice background music that I learned from my son. It's called the outro, and we'll talk to you later. Go out and make this a great day. Peace, family. Bye-bye. All right. See you later, family.
Through her channel, knowledge flows, breaking chains that hold us influence and wealth, guiding others to free themselves. Soul Tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. From currencies to investments divine, she's helping her tribe to realign with wisdom, ancient and new, showing what we all can do. Soul Tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. Soul Tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia lights the way to a new and brighter day.
All right, Soul Tribe. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a great day. And better than that, family, go out and make it great. See you later. I'll see you on the other side. Peace, love, and soul. Talk to you soon, Soul Tribe. Bye-bye.